Happy Lunar New Year, everyone. As the Executive Director of the White House Initiative and President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our swearing-in ceremony and inaugural commission meeting. We are so honored to have the Vice President with us to swear in our new commissioners today and to formally kick off the vital work of this historic commission during this pivotal time. The past 2 years have truly been unlike any other due to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has taken a devastating toll on Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities and other communities of color. In addition to the longstanding health and economic inequities that have been exacerbated throughout the pandemic, the AA and NHPI community has also faced an alarming surge in anti-Asian hate. And that's why we are so grateful that the Biden-Harris administration has been swift to respond to the multitude of challenges impacting our community, including through the signing of Executive Order 14031, which the President signed last May to reestablish and expand the White House Initiative on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. We are so thrilled that both entities are housed within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and co-chaired by HHS Secretary Xavier Becerra and U.S. Trade Representative Ambassador Katherine. And so you'll be hearing from our co-chairs shortly. We just want to thank all of our esteemed commissioners for their leadership, as well as our co-chairs who are represented here today. I know that we will be able to make a lasting impact together to create change for the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community for generations to come. And now I have the honor to introduce our co-chair, Secretary Xavier Becerra, the 25th Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, and the first Latino to hold this office in the history of the United States. He previously served as the Attorney General of the state of California and 12 terms in Congress as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, fighting for justice and equity throughout his entire career. He has also been a longtime champion of the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community, and we are so honored to have him leading the work of this important commission. Secretary Becerra, the floor is yours.
Krystal, thank you very much. And to everyone at the White House who made it possible for us to get here, we have to just say a big thanks. But most importantly, we have to say a big thanks to all those who are now commissioners as soon as the Vice President has a chance to swear them in. So good afternoon to them and to everyone who's joining with us. It's a great honor to be able to say welcome to this first meeting of the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans and Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. I'm proud to serve with our co-chair, Ambassador Katherine, our U.S. Trade Representative, on this Presidential Advisory Commission, and it is a thrill to know that we're going to have a great team to work with. Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders have together, over the last several years now, formed the fastest growing community in this country. And of course, the contributions they've been able to make to culture, the economy, and society go without saying. That we have become a greater, stronger nation because of all of our communities and our diversity. Yet, systemic barriers to equity, to justice, to opportunity have put that American dream out of reach for so many. And racism, nativism, xenophobia against Asian American, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders continues, and it threatens their safety and their dignity. The pandemic has only exacerbated these threats. COVID-19 and the xenophobia that we often see, the rhetoric, the hateful rhetoric that's exhibited, not just by people on the streets, but by leaders as well. All of that during this crisis has led to really tragic consequences and a spike in acts of anti-Asian bias and violence. At the same time, the pandemic has disproportionately burdened many Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders in our communities. Particularly, it has underscored the significant health and economic inequities faced by many Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. To address these challenges, President Biden signed Executive Order 14031 last May to authorize the creation of this commission. It's now being housed here at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, where I'm proud to serve as the secretary. And in December, the president announced his intention to nominate 23 outstanding Americans of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander extraction to serve on this commission alongside with Ambassador Tai and me. Our commission will advise the president on ways to advance equity, justice, and opportunity for the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities throughout the entirety of the federal government, including ways to advance health equity and address the rise in anti-Asian xenophobia and hate. The commissioners you see today represent not only subject matter experts who are recognized in their fields, but also visionary leaders who reflect the strength and diversity of America and, of course, of their respective communities. And it is a privilege to serve alongside each and every one of our commissioners as we work to improve the lives of our communities, of all of America, and help make the American dream a reality. So it's now my honor to introduce our commissioners. When I call your name, I would ask that you please wave so we can recognize you. And so let me start. Sanol Shah, Amy Agbayani, Teresita Baitayola, AJ Butoria, Louisa Blue, Kimberly Chang, Emily Chen, Carrie Doi, Grace Huang, Victoria Nguyen, Mia Ives Rubli, Kamal Kalsi, Michelle Kahwakane, Daniel Day, Kevin Kim, Sarah Min, Simon Pang, Aijin Pu, Nahid Kurishi, Reynald Samoa, Smita Shah, and the former representative of Guam in Congress, Robert Underwood. Victoria Kalsi, Kai-Ying Yang. Well, I think everyone would like to have our special guest be a member of a commission to work with, but we're honored at least to have her here today for this very special occasion to swear in our newly appointed commissioners. And so let me get to introducing a champion for American families, a trailblazer for so many of us, for people of color, for children of immigrants, for women, for those who believe that opportunity in the American dream is real, for those who believe that we can break down barriers if we work together. Let me have you join me in giving a warm welcome to the first woman, first Asian, first Black Vice President of the United States, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Thank you, Secretary Becerra. Hello, everyone. I'm looking at you on the screen here. Hello. It's so good to see everyone. Look at that. So many longstanding friends. So many of us have worked together. I'll look here at the screen, but so many of us have worked together on a variety of issues for many years. And so it is great to see these extraordinary American leaders together in what is a most important and very impactful group of people that are the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans and Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders. I want to thank everybody for all that you do every day, all that you have done in your life of leadership. All of you are leaders in a variety of ways, in a variety of places. I have counted on many of you to be friends and advisors to me, and I know the President has as well. So we are very honored that we now have this formal group to do the work of, as Secretary Becerra has said, and also I want to say hello to Katherine, the two co-chairs, of doing the work of helping us to ensure that the policies that we pursue have impact in a way that is about uplifting the people and all people. As we know, when we think about the communities from which we come, when we think about the communities we care about, when we think about the communities that have historically at different points in time been overlooked or left out, we know there's still a lot of work to do in an affirmative way, in a purposeful way, in an intentional way, about ensuring that people are engaged, that they are involved, and that we are relevant to the way that they are experiencing and living life, and that we are connected with their goals and their dreams for themselves, for their families, and for their community. And that's why it's so important to have you all, as the leaders that you are, together in this advisory group, because the work that you will do is to give us candid feedback. I promise you, and I invite you. That is what we want. We want candid feedback. We want advice. We want to know how the ideas and the decisions that we may make will actually hit the streets. All of you are on the ground. You are in community. You are working. You are opinion leaders. And so the feedback that you give us as we are thinking about our work that is about uplifting the people, the feedback you give us will allow us to actually achieve that goal of having impact. So I thank you for all that you do. Every one of you, I could just look at you and talk about the work that you have done your entire lives that has been about service in addition to your professions and in addition to the other obligations you have. So I know that this is going to require a sacrifice of time for you to do this work, but it will have a profound impact. And as I always think about the work that we can do when we are doing our work together with the same purpose of having broad impact, the work and the sacrifice of time that you're going to put into this will impact people that, for the most part, some of us will never meet. Will impact people that, for the most part, may never know our names. But because of our work together, their lives will forever be better. So I thank you all. I hope you get to know each other. I know many of you in different walks in different areas, but I hope you get to know each other also, because this is a wonderful way to combine the resources and the expertise in a way that can have exponential impact and benefit. So with that, I am going to now proceed with my official duties of the moment, which is to swear you in as commissioners. And again, this is the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. So what I'm going to ask you to do is raise your right hand and repeat after me. Okay, there we are. I, and then please say your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations, commissioners. Congratulations. Congratulations. And again, I really look forward to working with you. The co-chairs are extraordinary leaders. On behalf of the president and myself, thank you yet again for the life that you have chosen to live, which has been a life of leadership and service. Be well, and I look forward to seeing you in person, I hope sometime soon. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to thank Madam Vice President Kamala Harris for her words, for making the time to be with us on this important occasion. I think it again shows the commitment of the Vice President and the President to this commission. So we thank her and look forward to her input as well as the commission moves forward, fulfilling the President and the Vice President's pledge to address all those things that will make us a better America. And now, congratulations to our newly sworn in members of the President's Advisory Commission on Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders. I hope you are ready because we're going to launch. I very much look forward to working with you, with our co-chair, Ambassador Tai. And what I will tell you is that within this commission, we have the heart, the horsepower, the vision to really make a difference. And so let's get ready. Let's get to work. And I am thrilled that here at HHS, we get to be your home, where the commission will be based. And we'll do everything we can to make Krystal have very busy days, some evenings as well. And her team will hopefully inform the country of the good work that we are all doing together. But I simply want to repeat much of what has been said by the Vice President and just simply say it's overdue. We have work to do. We know that as much as has been done by our various communities, and certainly today we're talking about what the communities that we recognize through this commission have done to make America so much better, that we still know we have a lot of work to do. And at HHS, we're going to do our part. But I think we're going to get our partners and our various sister agencies and departments to really combine with us so we can make a difference. And I know the commissioners are ready to go. I know that Ambassador Tai is ready to go. I am thrilled that she and I get to partner on this. We've had opportunities to work together on some other issues in our respective capacities on the President's cabinet. And I am thrilled to know that she is raring to go and dedicating time to this. It is not acceptable. It is not conscionable to see America treat some of its greatest citizens other than with total respect and esteem. And it is time for us to step up, to bring the better angels of our country forward. And it is time for us to make it clear that we do not accept, we will not engage in anything but the type of civility and advancement that is the script that the Declaration of Independence and our Constitution were written to really represent. And so I say to each and every one of you as commissioners, thank you for your service. Congratulations on being sworn in. Buckle up. We have work to do. And with that, let me now turn it over to our esteemed U.S. Trade Representative, Ambassador Katherine Tai.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Secretary Becerra. Thank you for those kind words. You and I have had opportunities to work together even before we joined this administration. And over the course of the first year, the pandemic has brought us together on your side on the public health recovery, on my side on the economic recovery. And I'm just delighted to have this opportunity to work with you on this venture as well. Hello, everyone, and happy Lunar New Year to all who are celebrating. It is an honor to be joined by Vice President Harris for today's swearing-in ceremony and this inaugural meeting of the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. Every swearing-in ceremony will send chills down my spine, and I am so proud to serve with all of you. Congratulations to all of our newly minted commissioners. I look forward to working together to advance equity, justice, and opportunity for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders all across our great country. I would like to acknowledge our Executive Director of the White House Initiative and President's Advisory Commission on AA and NHPIs, Krystal, and her team for organizing this meeting. I also want to thank Erika Moritsugu, Deputy Assistant to the President and AA and NHPI Senior Liaison, for her tireless work in the White House on behalf of our communities. As the Vice President eloquently said, this work is critical, and I'm proud to join Secretary Becerra as co-chair of this important commission. Over the past 2 years, we have experienced exacerbated, long-standing inequities in our country. The pandemic has had significant economic and social impacts on AA and NHPI workers, particularly in the hospitality and leisure, retail, and other service industries that employ 1 in 4 workers from our communities. Meanwhile, small business owners have faced xenophobia, harassment, vandalism, and targeted threats. And this is why the Biden-Harris administration is prioritizing the values of equity, equality, and opportunity in the Build Back Better agenda, and why our pandemic recovery must bring along all of our communities. Those values are why this commission was established and why its work is so important to me, both professionally and personally. I am a second-generation American and a second-generation federal government public servant. My father was a researcher at the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, and my mother still works at the National Institutes of Health. I am proud of their service to the nation that welcomed them. I am proud to live in a country where in just 1 generation, their daughter could grow up to represent the United States and serve in the president's cabinet. I want to ensure that the same pursuit of the American dream that drove my parents to immigrate to this country remains alive for future generations. It is why I believe so strongly in the mission of this President's Advisory Commission. Commissioners, you have been selected to carry out a charge that has the potential to impact the direction of our nation's efforts on behalf of AA and NHPI communities for years to come. This commission will provide independent advice and recommendations to the President on ways to advance equity, justice, opportunity for AA and NHPIs throughout the entirety of the federal government. And as specified in President Biden's Executive Order 14031, the commission is charged with carrying out work on critical areas that include the following 7. First, developing, monitoring, and coordinating executive branch efforts to advance equity, justice, opportunity for AA and NHPI communities in the United States, including efforts to close gaps in health, socioeconomic, employment, and educational outcomes. Second, advancing policies to address and end anti-Asian bias, xenophobia, racism, and nativism, and to advance inclusion, belonging, and public awareness of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. Third, advancing policies, programs, and initiatives to prevent, report, respond to, and track anti-Asian hate crimes and hate incidents. Fourth, promoting equitable federal funding, grant-making, and employment opportunities to build greater capacity for AA and NHPIs. Fifth, improving research and equitable data disaggregation for our communities. Sixth, improving language access service to ensure AA and NHPI communities can access federal programs and services. And 7, developing strategies to increase public and private sector collaboration and community involvement in improving the safety and socioeconomic, health, educational, occupational, and environmental well-being of AA and HPI communities. As you can see, we have a lot of work ahead. I know that we will make important progress together. Once again, thank you to all of our commissioners for your service and the intense work that lies ahead. Through this commission, we will fulfill our mission and mandate to build a brighter future for Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander communities. With that, I will now turn it back over to Secretary Becerra.
Ambassador Tai, thank you very much. Looking forward to working with you. Next, we have a special video message from Assistant to the President and Director of the White House Domestic Policy Council, Ambassador Susan Rice.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank our co-chairs, Secretary Becerra and Ambassador Tai, our Executive Director, Krystal, all of our commissioners, and everyone joining this inaugural meeting of the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. I'm honored to speak with you as you begin your vital work. As President Biden's domestic policy advisor, I have the privilege of driving the development and implementation of the President's domestic policy agenda in the White House and across the federal government, from health care and economic mobility to voting rights, education, and immigration. It's my responsibility to make sure our domestic policies are carried out on behalf of the American people, and that means advancing equity and opportunity for AA and NHPI communities is at the heart of our work. I'm supported in this important work by Chirag Baines, one of my outstanding deputies at the Domestic Policy Council, who I know you'll be hearing from later today. In my capacity, I've spoken with many of you over the last year. I've heard you describe the fear many Asian Americans feel for their safety just walking down the street, about the pain of being scapegoated and treated like the other by the very leaders who are supposed to represent and protect every American. And I've seen the power of AA and NHPI communities that have spoken out against xenophobia, that have launched new organizations and awakened so many Americans to the marginalization and discrimination that too many AA and NHPI families continue to face. As public servants, it's our job to meet this moment with federal action. So under the leadership of President Biden and Vice President Harris, we're taking a whole-of-government approach to lifting up AA and NHPI communities. Spearheaded by our reinvigorated White House initiative on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. That work is being undertaken by an administration in which more than 15% identify as AA and NHPI, including the heads of critical agencies. Our work is very much unfinished, but as we begin the second year of the Biden-Harris administration, we're working hard to advance greater equity, justice, and opportunity for the AA and NHPI communities. Together we're working and we're moving towards greater equity, building off President Biden's Day One landmark executive order to advance equity and racial justice across the federal government. Our COVID response has prioritized outreach to AA and NHPI communities, including campaigns and TV ads to reach families with limited English proficiency. And we're promoting equity in education, whether that's providing resources to combat anti-Asian harassment in schools or devoting $36 billion in American Rescue Plan funds to support colleges, including institutions that primarily serve AA and NHPI communities.
Thank you, everyone. So sorry for the technical difficulties we were having, and understand your patience as we continue to operate in this virtual world. Thank you, Ambassador Susan Rice, for that video and for your leadership. We very much look forward to working with the White House Domestic Policy Council. And next, it is my incredible privilege to introduce my colleague, Erika Moritsugu, who was appointed by President Biden last April to serve as Deputy Assistant to the President and AA and NHPI Senior Liaison. This historic new role was created to engage AA and NHPI communities and to support the administration on a wide array of the president's priorities, including efforts to advance safety, justice, inclusion, and opportunity for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. Erika has a long history of public service and leadership fighting to advance racial equity and justice, and we are so honored to have her serving in this role. Erika, the floor is yours.
Krystal, thank you so much. Talofa, hafa day, aloha, good afternoon, and good morning, everyone. It's such an honor to be here alongside Vice President Harris, Ambassador Rice, Secretary Becerra, Ambassador Tai, Krystal Kai, and of course our esteemed newly sworn-in commissioners. I'm a middle-aged woman of East Asian descent with long hair, wearing a black dress and blue sweater in front of a blue background. Let me begin with congratulations to our newly sworn-in members of the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. We're so grateful for your willingness to support this extremely important work. I come to you today as a representative of an administration that understands just how special and diverse the experiences, contributions, needs, and hopes of Asian Americans and Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders are. Although these unprecedented times require definitive action to support the AA and NHPI communities, it's worth noting that the Commission has been a part of the White House for more than 20 years. In 1999, President Clinton signed an executive order that established the White House Initiative on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders and the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. That executive order, numbered 13125, was signed, quote, to improve the quality of life for Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders through increased participation in federal programs where they may be underserved. For example, health, human services, education, housing, labor, transportation, and economic and community development. Although this executive order was noteworthy for creating the initiative and the Commission, it was also the first related to the AA and NHPI communities since the executive order that had led to the incarceration of Japanese Americans and others in 1942. The first report from the President's Advisory Commission was published in 2001 and outlined the challenges faced by Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders, such as being, quote, missing from history and not being properly accounted for in government data. The report also recognized that Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders are often not properly recognized in the Asian American category, despite being diverse indigenous peoples and a unique part of the rich tapestry of our collective American story. The report featured several recommendations for the government to provide to AA and NHPI communities, which remain priorities for the government today. These recommendations included improving data collection, providing linguistic access and culturally competent support, protecting civil rights and equal opportunity, strengthening community capacity, and recognizing Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders in federal programs and services. Notably, the report specified how each federal department and agency was and was not meeting the needs of the AA and NHPI communities, and detailed how they could implement these recommendations. This initial report laid the groundwork for future President's Advisory Commissions and guided their efforts to direct the President's efforts to support the AA and NHPI communities. Each subsequent Presidential Advisory Commission continued to support the initial report's recommendations while also focusing on specific needs such as education, small business, and economic growth, health equity, and immigration. For example, in 2016, President Obama's administration released a report describing the accomplishments of its President's Advisory Commission, including the publication of strategic plans from 24 federal agencies about increasing federal resources for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. Data collection standards outlined in the Affordable Care Act that included 7 categories for Asian Americans and 4 categories for Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders. And the Pacific Island Task Force Regional Summit in Guam with 11 federal agencies to discuss the needs of the Pacific Islander communities. Despite these efforts to increase federal resources to help the AA and NHPI communities, this particular moment in history shows that there is still much more work to be done to support us. For decades, our Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities have faced unrelenting challenges. Many of these challenges are born out of systemic biases, such as lack of understanding about history and cultural diversity of the AA and NHPI communities, biases in data collection, lack of language access, and perceptions of the AA and NHPI as a monolithic group or as, quote, model minorities. These systemic biases foster inaction, allowing disparities and inequities to persist and worsen. It's the ongoing health and economic impacts of COVID-19 that have taken a particularly vicious toll on communities of color, including millions in the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities. And the impact on AA and NHPI women and people with disabilities has been particularly pronounced, as always. In 2020, 1 in 7 Asian American deaths was attributable to COVID-19. And where the data was available, disaggregated NHPI cases revealed case rates that significantly exceeded those of every other race and ethnicity. Further evidence indicates that Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders are under-tested for COVID-19 and experience higher risk of complications and death from COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated the strength and resiliency of our country, but also exposed the inherent systemic racism, bias, and xenophobia for minority communities, including the AAN and NHPI communities. The pandemic has disproportionately burdened the AAN and NHPI communities, particularly in terms of health inequities and economic losses. On average, AAN and NHPIs lost 39% of their jobs across multiple sectors impacted by the rise in COVID-19 cases. Think education, personal care, health support, among others. Asian Americans have seen the highest and sharpest rise of long-term unemployment across demographic groups. And the pandemic has also magnified the deep-rooted nativism and racism against AAN and NHPI individuals, as seen in the racist vitriol and acts of violence against Asian Americans, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islanders. During the first months of the pandemic in the United States, Google Trends, the preeminent technology in tracking online behavior and web searching, found that the phrase, quote, Chinese virus, was one of the main search interests in the whole country. Last year, the FBI reported a staggering 73% increase in reported anti-Asian hate crimes. A U.S. Census survey released last year found Asian American households were twice as likely as white households to admit that they didn't have enough food throughout the pandemic, not because of cost or transportation issues, but because they were afraid to leave their homes. The pandemic has also exposed the way racism and misogyny intersect and compound one another to oppress AAN and NHPI women. This is demonstrated by the horrific spa shootings in Atlanta in March of last year, where 6 Asian women were killed and 2 others, and the rising tide of violence and discrimination against AAN and NHPI women and girls. In 2021, AAN and NHPI women reported hate incidents at 2.2 times the rate as AAN and NHPI men. For these reasons and more, the work of this commission is critical, now more than ever. This commission is the embodiment of the longstanding commitment and vision that President Biden and Vice President Harris have had for our diverse and growing community. From the very beginning of this administration, the President and Vice President have taken steps to uplift and support the AAN and HPI communities. They have time and time again delivered results for our communities, including issuing a presidential memorandum condemning and combating racism, xenophobia, and intolerance against AAN and HPIs, by signing the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act and the Jabara Hire No Hate Act into law, signing executive orders to advance equity throughout the federal government and to advance equity and opportunity for Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders specifically, executing on the American Rescue Plan and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and of course, by reinvigorating and expanding upon this historic commission. Under the leadership of its co-chairs, Secretary Becerra and Ambassador Tai, the commission will deliver on the President and Vice President's dedication to our communities by advancing equity, justice, and opportunity for AAN and HPIs, with a particular focus on more intentional inclusion and better attention to those in our communities with multiple identities that have been traditionally marginalized and underserved. I'm humbled to continue working alongside the Commission to serve the AAN and HPI individuals and communities and look forward to the work ahead. Mahalo for the opportunity to share this space with you, and congratulations again to the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders on this historic day.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.